I really wish that the level of frustration I am currently feeling was not so dang familiar. So normally, today would have been a Doctor Who related video, but I have got to get this off my chest because otherwise it's going to fester in my head and I don't need this nonsense weighing down my holidays. I need to talk about JK Rowling and the fact that yes, she is in fact transphobic. But before we get into that, let's back up and add a bunch of qualifiers and footnotes to that proclamation. I debated whether or not I was going to do this video at all because I try very hard to not talk about the personal views or actions of writers, actors, or directors, or any other creators unless it in some way is tied to their works, since that is what I care about first and foremost. It's why I did a video on Gareth Edwards and not, say, Trisha Paytas, because the Edwards story directly tied into Doctor Who, and Paytas was nothing but drama that in no way related to the things that I prefer to actually focus on. And this issue of Rowling does really kind of ride the line, because strictly speaking, what I'm going to be talking about doesn't directly tie into Harry Potter or the Wizarding World franchises in any immediate way. And part of me would really rather leave it. Some folks have even asked, quite fairly, why would I follow this stuff if it bothers me like it does? And I should be clear, I do not seek this stuff out. I don't enjoy real-life drama. I don't see it as any kind of entertainment. It causes me stress. But if and when drama like this is related to what I enjoy, well, it tends to show up on my radar regardless. And if you were on Twitter at all over the last few days, this was kind of hard to miss, right up there with Star Wars spoilers. Now, I don't actually follow Ms. Rowling. It's not like I've been waiting for this to happen. I've been watching out for it, and I would love to not care. But now that I know, I can't shut off the bit of my brain that has decided is going to latch onto this. It may be a weird comparison, but it's not dissimilar to why I hate it when movie trailers show anything from further into the movie than the halfway mark. Because I'll be trying to enjoy the movie, and a sliver of my brain will keep needling me. Hey, haven't seen this bit yet. Remember that from the trailer? Think it's coming soon? When do you think it'll be here? Huh? Once I know a thing, I can't just pretend that I don't. And one more note before we dig into this. There are two words that I won't be using to refer to Ms. Rowling. Bigot and TERF. Not because I do or don't think either one applies, but because, as clickbaity as they are, both terms tend to derail the conversation that I actually want to try and have, because people will splinter off into arguments about what degree of prejudicial behavior is needed in order to fairly apply the word bigot, and whether or not TERF is a slur. And I would rather just really not with either of those right now. So I'm going to be using the word transphobic, which will still piss some folks off, but I mean, what can you do? Oh, and by the way, transphobia is a blanket term that doesn't strictly refer to fear the way most people think of phobia. It covers a wide range of manners and behavior and beliefs that include, but are not limited to, aversion, anger, hatred, violence, diminishment, and negation. Okay, so thanks to recent events, I've had to come to terms with the idea that Ms. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter franchise, is in fact transphobic. But there are plenty of people who have been saying that for a while now. So before I dive into the thing that finally tipped the scale for me personally, we should do a quick recap with the understanding that my research abilities are not amazing and this will not be comprehensive. It's just the best that I could do and is how I came to where I am right now. So, it looks like trouble started brewing for Rowling on this front in 2017, when her official Twitter liked a tweet promoting a transphobic online article. I wasn't able to find if Rowling or her representatives ever responded responded to the criticisms of this particular incident, but something very similar happened the next year when she liked a tweet which referred to trans women as men in dresses. Now, this one I did find a response to, and Rowling's representatives claimed that she'd done it by accident because she'd been holding the phone incorrectly. This explanation couldn't really be applied when earlier this year she began to follow an openly transphobic YouTuber named Magdalena Burns. Now, Burns passed away from brain cancer several months ago, so out of respect and also staying on topic, I'm not really going to dig into her. Just know that nobody has ever claimed that Burns wasn't openly against transgender as an identity. So, when Rowling started following her, this time her representatives took a different angle and noted that following is not the same as endorsing, which is true. Hate follows are apparently a thing. I don't get it, but there you go. However, note that neither Rowling nor her reps ever denounced any of these views or actually said that she disagreed with them. They only said, this isn't proof that she agrees. There's also been some re-examination of a transgender character from her 2014 novel, The Silkworm, but I haven't read it, and I also couldn't find a proper breakdown of that particular character from a source that I felt totally confident in. So I'm not gonna make a call as to whether or not the character and the character's use was problematic. Just know that the plot summaries I found looked like they could have gone badly, very much depending on the execution, and there was some criticism on this particular point. So that's in the mix too. There's your background, and as I said, this wasn't enough for me to declare Rowling a transphobe in the past. I've never been a defender of hers, and I've openly criticized her on other issues, some might even say related ones, but this particular one felt murky enough to me that I was comfortable with myself just setting all of it aside as best as I could. I mean, you can go back to any critical video that I've made on Harry Potter or Ms. Rowling herself. I've never touched on this criticism of her before, even though it's not new. So, let's bring it up to the present, where Ms. Rowling tweeted her support of a woman named Maya Forstater. Forstater was a tax expert for a think tank who was let go for publicly voicing her hardline views on gender, which basically boiled down to men are men, women are women, nobody can change what they were born as. The only precise quote that I found was, men cannot change into women, because there was only so far down this rabbit hole I was prepared to go to get her exact words. But much like with Burns, nobody appears to be arguing that Forstater isn't transphobic, including the woman herself. Instead, the debate has been over whether or not she should have lost her job. This came up in the news cycle because earlier this week, the Central London Employment Tribunal ruled against her and said that her dismissal was fair in their view. Now, I don't know exactly how this tribunal works, but from what I understand, it's not technically a legal entity, but it has statutory jurisdiction to settle disputes between employers and employees. So she lost the case that was before them, basically because of how unambiguous her stance was. Now, to use the exact words from the judgment that was issued, the judge said, "I conclude from the totality of the evidence that she is absolutist in her view of sex, and it is a core component of her belief that she will refer to a person by the sex she considered appropriate, even if it violates their dignity and or creates an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment." In other words, it's not just that Forstater held transphobic beliefs, it's that she was so committed to them that she was prepared to willfully create a hostile work environment, and the judge felt it was clear she would not adjust her behavior, and therefore the company was within their rights to let her go. So, that's Maya Forstater. And as one might expect, this ruling sparked online debate and a hashtag. The hashtag was, "I stand with Maya." So, now we finally get to bring in Ms. Rowling. So, on December 19th, she tweeted, quote, "Dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you, live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real? Hashtag, I stand with Maya. Hashtag, this is not a drill. So, unlike the earlier Twitter issues that I mentioned, this isn't a like, this isn't a follow. These are her words openly and plainly voicing her support for a woman removed from her job for reasons tied to that woman's harshly transphobic views. Now, no doubt some folks are going to point out that Rowling says in that very tweet, people can still dress and call themselves what they like. What's the problem? She can't be transphobic if that's what she's saying. And I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain why this view, while vastly preferable to open hostility, is still a low-key form of transphobia. So instead, if you're unclear on that particular point, I would recommend a fantastic video on the subject from PhilosophyTube, because he explains it better than I could anyways. In digging into this, I also tried to see what I could find as far as counterpoints in Rowling's favor, and came up with very little. I found two prominently cited instances that Rowling's defenders claim show she's actually an ally. The first dates from 2014, when a Harry Potter fan asked her over Twitter if there were LGBT students at Hogwarts, which Rowling responded to by saying, "But of course," and shared an image that read, "If Harry Potter taught us anything, it's that no one should live in a closet." This sounds good, but is weakened by the fact that Rowling has a decade-long history of claiming LGBT, or at least gay men, exist in the wizarding world while offering no concrete proof of this in any of the actual works. And it's not really a proclamation of support so much as it is a, "Oh, yeah, sure, that works," response to a fan question. The other thing I found was in 2017. Rowling did a pretty epic job of dunking on Tomi Lahren's defense of the Trump administration when that administration implemented a ban on trans people serving in the military. Lahren had gone off on a tangent about Trump defending the US from terrorists, and she also tossed in some digs about Obama while she was at it, to which Rowling responded, "Truly, who amongst us can forget Trump ordering the killing of bin Laden, or Obama bragging about barging in on naked beauty contestants?" Now, that is a pretty spicy burn. However, if you look at it closely, nowhere does Rowling actually defend trans service people or even attack the military ban in specific. Yes, that was the topic that got Lahren started, but Rowling only went after the hypocrisy, not the policy. And that's pretty much how I ended up where I am. And I am prepared to cop that it might be true that no single incident I've talked about is enough to call her transphobic. But to pick apart each piece of evidence one by one is to ignore the fact that we now have repeated incidents all pointing to the same conclusion. And the few things I could find that people say point to any other conclusion are, in truth, worded in such a way as to not actually contradict a transphobic viewpoint. By now, Rowling and her reps both know that this is an ongoing issue, and they've only ever gone on the defensive when it comes up. Not once that I could find has Rowling flatly stated her own beliefs on the subject of transgender identity. And some might say that means we can't say for sure she's transphobic, but if she isn't, if she truly doesn't believe any of these things, then why won't she say that? She is not a politically private person. She has donated to political parties, plainly stated her views on political figures and issues, from Trump to Brexit, Scottish independence, the conflict in Israel. She's happy to make clear her views on these issues, but she won't say what she believes on this one. Despite the blunders, she's not unsavvy when it comes to public relations. At this point, there would be no real benefit to remaining silent unless she knows that the views she holds aren't the ones her liberal-leaning fanbase want to hear. Now, that is admittedly speculative on my part, but her refusal to denounce these views leaves me with little else that I can do as far as a conclusion goes. All I can do at this point is look at what's happened. She's given social media support to transphobic views and individuals and amplified their messages and beliefs by supporting them on her platform. I have not been able to find any instance of her granting a similar boost or platform for trans rights. And the best I've been able to find were statements that implied support but never actually said it. Much like how she writes the supposedly gay character of Dumbledore, come to think of it. All of this points me to the conclusion that Rowling shares the transphobic views she's repeatedly given support to, but is just self-aware enough to realize that saying those things herself is a bad idea. And if you have evidence that I missed that paints a better picture, I hope you will share it with me, because I am not happy about coming to this conclusion. Part of the reason I'm making this video is to contain in one place my feelings on this, because I don't intend to have this enter into my talking about Harry Potter or Fantastic Beasts. I'm still going to do a ranking video of the movies. I'm still considering doing a video on The Cursed Child. I'm going to continue reading these books to my daughter at bedtime, and I don't plan to bring up any of this in relation to those things. We'll see how I feel about things when the next Fantastic Beasts movie comes out, because that will put me in a situation of potentially financially supporting a woman with views in opposition of people like me, and I can't say at this point if I'll be okay with doing that or not. But all the other stuff I've already paid for. The movies, the books, my Slytherin gear. I'm not getting rid of any of it, because I still love these things and they're mine. Nobody, not even the author, gets to take them away from me. To end on a more positive note, and in case anybody out there is looking for a comparative for how to handle this kind of thing if you don't hold those transphobic views, actress Bebe Neuwirth liked Rowling's tweet supporting Forstater, because unless you know what the hashtag was about, which she didn't at first, it's easy to miss what's going on from the words alone. But as soon as it was pointed out to her, she tweeted, "I totally misunderstood someone's tweet today and liked it. It's been explained to me that her comment was transphobic, and now I'm horrified that I liked it. I assure you I misread/misunderstood her intent. I've, of course, unliked it. Sorry." And that is how you do it. Respond quickly, apologize genuinely, offer an explanation. It's not that hard. And fun bonus, when I retweeted this and added my comment praising her handling of it, she replied. So yeah, new favorite celebrity on Twitter. Thank you for staying all the way through this little personal therapy session. I encourage you to leave a comment, even if you disagree, just do it respectfully. And of course, like, subscribe, share this video. Consider supporting me on Patreon, but you also don't have to do any of that, because at the end of the day, you're the council and I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.